Hello, I'm Michael Usher. Welcome to Spotlight. Well, Anne Hegerty is known around the world for her tough television alter ego, the Governess, on TV quiz show The Chase. Going head-to-head with contestants, she's intimidating, harsh, often funny and sometimes a bit flirty. But what we don't see is Anne's private struggle with everyday tasks because, like 200,000 Australians, she lives with autism. Tonight, for the first time, Anne Hegerty invites us into her home and life, which is very different to what we see on camera. A life spent coming to terms with childhood trauma that helped create the Governess.
Australia, bring me your best, your brightest, the greatest minds your country can offer, because I'm going to eat them for breakfast. Yum, yum.
Despite the stereotype of a fierce English governess, Anne Hegerty has a soft spot for Australia. The reason why, though, is a little surprising.
I don't know if you ever noticed the way the British cross the road, but they're absolute anarchists. One reason I love being in Australia is Australians know how to cross the road. They cross the road like Americans. They just go to the crossing and they press the thing and they wait. Yes, and you just go. And that's sensible. That's a sensible way to cross the road. The British, if they want to cross the road, they will just simply stop right where they are, turn 90 degrees to face the other side of the road, and they'll make little darts into the traffic, and they'll sort of dance their way between the cars, and they'll get to the other side and they say, "Oh, you're taking your life in your hands crossing that road." And I'm like, yeah, you are, if you don't use the crossing that's like 50 feet away that you were just completely ignoring. So, I just prefer crossing in what I consider to be the normal way.
Growing up in England with undiagnosed autism was never going to be easy for Anne Hegerty. It was a confusing time made even more difficult by her unconventional parents. Her dad wasn't a normal father.
I tend to call my dad a deadbeat.
Yeah.
My brother calls him a waster. He was supremely selfish. He had serious difficulty realising anyone existed who wasn't him. And he didn't really approve of work. He felt that he shouldn't need to work, that the world should just give him stuff. And the thing is, I grew up with these sort of very weird attitudes to work because my mother was very afraid of overwork for people. And she was always like, "Do be careful, dear, don't work too hard." And my dad was, work is rubbish, nobody should work. And then I was, I sort of secretly have this feeling, actually, hard work's probably a good thing. It's probably morally good and it's probably good for you.
Despite her fame, Anne lives modestly.
I see clickbait headlines. "You'll be amazed when you see where Anne Hegerty lives with her entourage." And I'm sitting there in my dressing gown, eating Nutella out of a jar with a spoon and looking around and thinking, I don't know where his entourage is, but I've got washing up that wants doing.
In truth, Anne is content in her own company and grateful for a life of promise after a less than promising start.
I just grew up feeling like I couldn't really do anything. Everyone who knew my mother absolutely adored her, and I was always told that her judgment was faultless. She understood everything and everyone, and she never told me I could accomplish anything. And the only person who did tell me that was my dad, and everyone used to tell me my dad was wrong about everything. A complete incompetent in all walks of life. And so, yeah, I did grow up thinking, I'm not really sure I can do things. I'm not sure I can learn to do anything. When I was 12, I think, my mother sent me to a child psychologist. You see, nobody knew about autism. People just knew that I was odd and that I was unhappy. And, I mean, most 12-year-old girls are unhappy, but, I was really unhappy.
Is it fair to say that for a huge part of your life, you felt invisible?
I felt either invisible or that people saw me and didn't like what they saw, basically, and would rather I was invisible. I ended up going to boarding school when I was 13, staying till I was 18. And after the initial shock, which did last several months, I found I appreciated the structure that it gave me. I actually got my head down and started working and started understanding what was required of me. And by the end of the year, I was top in grades, and I was top for the next 4 years. Come round here. Oh, is this the best way to go round? Yes, I think so.
Structure helped then, structure helps now.
So this is how you keep yourself organised.
This is how I keep myself organised, yes. This is, now let's see, that's files. That's also files, so that's the regifting box, and that's envelopes. You've seen my house, you've seen how hard I try to keep everything under control and organised. Accommodation for work or quizzing, like hotels, and then this is money in, because otherwise I can just get thrown. That down there is the Australia box.
So what's in that box?
So what's in that box is things like my Officeworks card. Probably my Opal card is in there somewhere as well. That is stamps. That is
there you
pictures
are.
of me. That is more stamps. That is more pictures of me.
So what, eventually you'll write responses to all these
I will.
people?
Yes, some of them may be dead, of course. I mean, I know it sounds awful, but the thing is, we do have a lot of elderly fans.
Oh,
and I sort of really worry, it's going to be awful that I finally wrote to them like, well, Mother died 3 years ago, but thank you anyway.
But thank you, Anne, for your response.
Yeah, so there are times when with the older ones I think, maybe I'll never answer it, maybe it's just too embarrassing.
How would you describe how your brain works?
I need to think very slowly. You might think that this is perhaps not an advantage in a final chase. Yes, how on earth did I get that job? I remember one time years ago, I was at the pub with friends, and one of them at one point said, I'm going to the loo, don't say anything funny till I get back. And I thought, do I say funny stuff? You could write a book about your experiences on this show. File it under horror. I've always felt that I was good at getting knowledge up to the surface.
How many times has Kate Winslet been married?
3 times.
Correct. Bill Shankly left Huddersfield to manage what football club?
Liverpool.
Correct.
I always felt I have a brain like a Rolodex. If I know it, then it's there. But in my everyday life, I have to kind of chug slowly through the possibilities. Oh, I know, this is, it's that. And I need, an expanse of unstructured time during which I can do a bit of thinking, just sort out all the possibilities in my head.
So have
this
you worn
room
all of
is
these?
dedicated to dresses. These are short dresses as opposed to long ones. These are the ones that require a black bra. These ones don't. This is shoes and bags. These are the long dresses.
For red carpet.
Indeed. There's also a wetsuit, because this is the sort of, human length.
You never know when it'll come in handy.
In my everyday life, I have to kind of, write myself a critical path. And the critical path will be something like, OK, put your knickers on. Now put your bra on. Now go into the bathroom and clean your teeth. So now you're up and dressed, and you look respectable. Now you can pull back the curtains, then you can pull back the curtains in the other room, and just kind of trudging through it like that. All the stuff that everybody else, they can do absent-mindedly. What I can do absent-mindedly is quiz.
So 6 rounds of 10 questions. Anne Hegerty, one of our guest quizzes over there, she's a big star in Australia because she's also on The Chase in Oz. And round of applause for Anne.
People say to me, oh, these quizzes, they sound so interesting. Can we come and film them? I'm like, guys, it's literally 50 old white men sitting in a room doing an exam.
At the beginning of each round, we auction off all 5 of our expert quizzes.
On this night, before the quiz even began, I already knew the correct answer. To win, I needed Anne on my team, no matter the cost.
Anyone want to go 160? Bobby Ladbroke's table's got 160.
210.
210. 210. 220. You're not going to get it.
300.
for round 3. Thank you so much. That's brilliant.
Oh, welcome back, Anne.
Sorry, lads.
It was fun to win.
But we have
But for Anne, quizzes are a serious business, not least because they turned her life around. 14 years ago, she was in debt and struggling, financially and emotionally. But then, at her lowest, came an audition to work on a newly created TV show.
So when did your life get really good?
Well, I mean, it got really good when I got the job on The Chase.
So do you think in a weird way then, being on The Chase and being a celebrity has made you feel more comfortable about who you really are?
Well, it has, yes, it absolutely has. I'm sort of like, OK, there's one thing I can do, and it turns out people like watching me do it and would even pay me to do it, and that gives you a bit more confidence, and then when you have a bit more confidence, you can be a bit more relaxed, and then you start cracking jokes, and possibly people laugh.
Oh, indeed.
And then that gives you more confidence too.
I've no intention of being kind to you. You're used to handling big figures. You're about to be handled by one.
The Chase has brought Anne fame and financial security.
Here she comes.
But perhaps more important has been the structure of regular employment
Hello, Anne.
and a format that complements the way her brain works.
Before your autism diagnosis at what, age 45? 46?
Something like that, wasn't it? Yeah.
Were you sort of in this perpetual state of confusion about why your brain was different?
I was. I mean, I really thought that therapy was going to be the solution, and I felt that it did solve a lot of problems.
So, Anne, when did your autism diagnosis come about?
That was about 10 years later. I think I'd been idly watching television. There was some documentary on there about autistic children, and I don't know, something in it clicked with me. I'm thinking, this is all starting to ring really loud bells. And I thought, oh my God, this is bringing together so many things that I did as a child, or possibly still do, that seem to have no connection, except that they were weird and inexplicable, and I did them. You know, how is that connected? How is that connected with the not knowing how to make friends? All these things that I had no idea were connected, except that they are all found in people with Asperger's syndrome.
There are a lot of parts to you, Anne.
I don't think I've mentioned the actual sort of details of this before. It really was the worst thing that's ever happened to me.
And Hegerty, what do you think of when I say Fanny Schmeller?
In what sport does Fanny Schmeller compete for Germany?
Everyone was sort of, you know, mildly smiling at this mildly amusing name.
I'd be straight down the court in the morning if that was my name. I'd have that changed straight away. Right. We're going to make a rule now, never to say her name again.
And then it dawned on everyone that Bradley had gone into what you can only describe as a full-body clench. You could just see him just kind of tightening himself up. And they revealed, you've put show jumping.
Show jumping?
And you could see he was thinking, it would be completely inappropriate of me to start collapsing in giggles, but I can't actually do anything else. I can't speak. I can't look at anyone. I remember avoiding looking at him because he's down there, and I remember sitting there looking sort of up there. I thought, I can't catch his. I can't look at him because I'm just gonna go.
Right. No. Yes.
He was just struggling to just be able to say something.
We've got to get there. Right, quickly. The correct answer is... Oh, keep facing on knowing that. I should have known that.
I mean, there is a point at which the camera swings out wide and I'm literally wiping tears off my cheeks.
I'm fine.
While trying to be terribly sort of governessy, but I have been weeping with laughter.
OK, let's move on. Come on. Forget Fanny, let's go.
It's wonderful to see Anne Hegerty in tears of laughter. Even more so because for much of her life she was mistreated by a distant mother. Her undiagnosed autism meant she was seen as odd by people who should have supported her. Instead, as you'll learn, she was emotionally abused by her closest family. The success she now enjoys is proof that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Fame, fortune, and today, frocks. So off to the ball. Ready to rock and roll. I'm feeling very underdressed, Anne. The chase has brought many good things to Anne Hegerty. Do you get excited, Anne?
I enjoy it.
Including the love of the public and the respect of her peers. Today, she's off to the National Television Awards.
We are up for 2 awards, yes. I think we have a chance of winning the Game Show Award, and apparently we have an outside chance of winning Daytime.
We don't want to reveal all the tricks of the trade. But what have you brought with you?
What's in the red bag? Well, I would like everyone to think that I've been given a goodie bag by someone. I just happen to be sort of carrying around. Actually, there's 2 sandwiches, is what's in there. Because, well, the thing is about the NTA is you don't get dinner.
They're emergency sandwiches.
They're emergency sandwiches. I may, you know, nibble at them.
And that whole glamour.
But just knowing they're there is nice.
Yes, yes, it's reassuring.
Yeah, yeah.
Good luck, Anne.
Hello. Timing. Hi, how are you?
Anne didn't win this day, but in so many ways, she has already taken home the biggest prize. She's overcome the obstacles of a lonely and tough childhood.
Would you mind having a picture with me? Yeah, no problem.
And years of living with undiagnosed autism
Oh, thank you. It's okay. It's lovely to meet you. Yeah, nice to meet you.
to build a life on her own terms.
Do you ever get lonely?
I genuinely don't get lonely. I don't think I've ever actually experienced loneliness. I've been homesick as a child, and I've, you know, sometimes missed people when I was a child. But in a very functional way, sort of as a cat misses people. You know, not really a terribly... It's awful, but I don't really seem... In some ways, I don't seem to be a terribly affectionate person. And I'm sorry about that. I mean, I get attracted to people, I do. You know...
But you can find someone good looking.
Well, yes, it's not. I mean, I feel attraction. I feel like the kind of normal attraction to men that, you know, any other straight woman would.
Yeah.
I've always been drawn not just to the male, but to the masculine.
To the masculine?
So, yeah, I like men.
Manly men.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there seems to be quite a lot of people. I think I may have become a sort of bit of a lesbian icon, and I don't really like to disappoint people, but, you know, sorry, girls, not into that.
I would imagine that you'd need to find someone who also challenges you.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know, actually. I mean, being challenged is slightly overrated. When you're autistic and there's a sense in which everything challenges you, then actually, you know, I'd probably like someone who was actually quite calm to be around and possibly comatose some of the time.
So apart from comatose, what are the other things that you are looking for?
I like protective guys. I like people, you know, who you feel will look after you. I may have a little bit of a dad complex, maybe just a little bit. And I did feel, especially, you know, with my grandmother being a bitch, basically. And I grew up with this sort of feeling of women are the people who hit you. Women are also the people who don't protect you from the people who hit you. Men are the people who rescue you from the people who hit you. So there was an element of that.
The scars from her childhood have never fully healed. When Shirley, her mother, was dying, Anne raced to be by her side. But sadly, the daughter who was cruelly ignored as a little girl found herself being treated exactly the same way again.
I remember getting to the station and getting into my aunt's car and my aunt thumping the steering wheel and saying, now listen to me, Shirley is very ill, she's very ill indeed, she may be dead by the time we get there. And I was like, yeah, could we get a move on, would that be okay? She made me promise that I would do exactly as I was told and I would leave the house as soon as she said that I had to. So I went to the house. I had, I don't know, about 15 minutes there. I mean, my mother was completely unconscious. Basically then I had to leave. Jill made me leave and go back to the hotel.
Apart from keeping you away from your dying mother, making you feel like you didn't exist,
yeah,
has to be the worst thing that someone can do to another person.
It really was the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Not so much my mum dying, as just that whole feeling of just being unpersoned. So I was not ecstatically happy about that. Yeah, like I say, it's the worst thing that ever happened.
Yeah.
But I think I would I want to reassure myself at that this is as bad as it gets. It gets better from here. It really does.
And, of course, Anne's life got much better when she won the role of the Governess. Which is why there is a kind of delicious irony to what she has to say next.
The Governess is partly based on my grandmother, partly based on one of my aunts, and the aunt she's based on is Aunt Jill, who just, is a malevolent influence, I feel. I think, the Governess is... I don't think the Governess would do that.
No.
My feeling is certainly as the Governess has developed, she would be the one that would rescue the little girl rather than the one who would be Aunt Jill.
Would the Governess go back and tell her little Anne that everything's going to be okay?
Yes. I wouldn't necessarily expect little Anne to believe that. And I would say to her, it's going to take some time, but it is going to be okay. What you want, you will one day get.
Do you think this is a safe idea?
I had no idea there'd be a risk element to today.
Oh, well, you don't want.
Hush now, child, and don't cry.
I remember when I went to boarding school in 1971, I remember a song that was in the charts at the time, and it was Curtis Mayfield's Move On Up. And I've always found that the most, just an inspirational song about, it's okay, it's going to get better. I remember that song being in my mind an awful lot.
It's one of my favourites.
It is brilliant, isn't it? Yeah, excellent.
Just coming up.
Drop your destination, though you may find from time to time complication.
There are a lot of parts to you, Anne.
Yeah, I'm intersectional, darling.
Though there may be wet road ahead, and you cannot.
What would you say to children or parents of kids who have recently received an autism diagnosis?
I always, before I started to research it for myself, I absorbed the idea that it's an absolute catastrophe, that it's disastrous. If you say my kid has been diagnosed as autistic, you go, I'm sorry. Oh my God, that must be awful for you. It was as if the kid had died or something. Now I get it's not like that.
Thank you, Anne.
And I would say to them, it doesn't have to be like that.
Are you enjoying this? Yeah, it's good.
A lot of people are terrifically excited, that there's a famous autistic person out there talking 19 to the dozen.
Thank you so much.
Holding down a pretty damn well-paid job, and, doing okay, going to parties and so on.
They're all looking at Kate, not me.
And sometimes I feel the need to say to people, you know, I'm not as normal as you think I am. But I think it makes people happy seeing, you know, that I'm coping, as it were.
You're thriving.
I hope I am.
It was lovely of Anne to invite us into a very different side of her world, but don't think for a second this chaser will be any kinder to her contestants.